Kathy here from Eclectic Images. Thank you for joining me for today. I'm going to do an Australian themed Christmas card today using some of our new stamps and combining them with some of our older stamps as well and doing a glossy card scene. So someone, when they saw me doing the sample of this one, said it looks a bit like a 1970s postcard. I'll let you make up your mind on that one. Okay, so our stamps that we're going to use is the Australia. So it's got the map of Australia with a couple of words. I'm also going to bring in one of the states from the Australian States stamp, and as a background I'm going to use the Outback rocks. Our inks with working on gloss card will be Catherine Pooler's. So I've got Midnight for our outline stamping, some sky colours with Fiesta blue and dress blues. Now these ones are out of the party collection, but then I wanted something softer for the grass, so I've gone with an olive, which is a new colour in the same family as Eucalyptus. So that'll give our foreground greens a bit of a soft green, and maybe a little bit of Terracotta, which is in the Spa collection as well for the rocks. The rest of the rocks will be out of the Neutrals collection, which is Sandcastle and Macchiato. Now, being on gloss card, it means I'm using my big brushes for doing my blending. These long handled brushes, which work really well actually. So the sample card that I've got shows the Australia, and this is using the Outback Roads stamp behind, which is a big stamp. The other one that you could use is the Aussie Creek. So you'd have your Australian in the middle, but you'd still see the trees at the outer edges. And then for the greetings on the inside, we're using the state today, but you could also use the Aussie Christmas wishes out of the gum leaf wreath set. Or we've got greetings from Australia, all in the same sort of scripty font as our states are in, or a bit of a different one, G'day from Down Under. So there's got different options to what you can stamp inside the Australia. So let's get going. Okay, so our gloss card is slippery to stamp on, and you need to be careful that you don't handle it too much. You don't want to get fingerprints all over it. Catherine Pooler ink does stain, so I've put some backing paper in to my stamp press so that I don't accidentally get not for this bit, but I don't get inks. If I was doing the bigger stamp now, I don't want the inks going off the edge. And I'm putting some magnets well and truly on because it does lift the gloss card. So it lifts it off your stamp press because the inks stick to the gloss card so well. Now I have recently re-inked my Catherine Pooler black ink, the Midnight ink, so that means it's very hard with gloss card to actually, even with the stamp press, to stamp something twice because the ink tends to move the card as you're lifting it up. You go to stamp again and it's hard to have it in exactly the same spot. So I want to make sure my inking is right the first time. So re-inked pad, tap gently over the design. Remember, you don't put any pressure on with these ink pads, and we don't want to get all this area all blackened with the Catherine Pooler ink because it does stain the stamps. But it is the best black that I've found for working on gloss card. Okay, I believe I've got that well inked, so let's lift it over. I won't be using my stamp barren tool for this because I don't need so much pressure. The combination of the dye ink and the gloss card means that you don't need to put as much pressure on, and that is magnificent. Woohoo! Okay. Now the Catherine Pooler ink does need to be heat set on the gloss card, but I'm not going to do that at the moment on this one. I'm going to keep going and get our background stamp in, which may be a bad thing. It may smudge this one a bit, but we'll see how we go. So I've already made a mask of this stamp. So we're just going to pop that over the top. So this means we can stamp our other stamp in behind. Doesn't help if I'm moving around as I'm putting the mask on. And there's also a little mask of the Tasmania. In fact, I've got two of those I've got to spare. So that goes down on there. Okay, now we're ready to stamp in the Outback rocks. Now I could do this on the platform, but to save time I've got it on a block. Again, just little taps And I'm not going to be doing any foreground embossing over this one, so I've got nothing to cover up any mistakes. So I'm just checking that I haven't got any ink on my fingers. And let's stamp. Now this card is too wide for the stamp. That's fine. Then I'm going to stamp it across twice. It's been made so that the ends join up, so that you can stamp it twice seamlessly on your card. Lift straight up, and of course it's stuck to the card, so I'm just going to peel it off gently so it doesn't smudge. Oh, it's very cool. This is going to look so much even better once it's got some colour in. Now just checking which end of the stamp I'm going to be using. It's this end, so I don't need to ink the whole stamp again. Again, just a quick check of my fingers, make sure there's no black ink on them. Line the stamp up. And lift straight up. Awesome! Okay, lift out the masks. And you'll see we've now got that design, that background design, slipping in behind our Australia. Just lift out that little mask as well. Now, this isn't dry, but that's okay because I do have one that I prepared earlier that I have done the heat setting on, just so you didn't have to sit and listen to me running the heat gun. So here's one we've done earlier. Okay, so now to do my background colouring, I'm going to pop that mask in again. Okay, and the little Tasmania. Cool. Now let's start off with our sky. So we'll use our Fiesta blue and dress blues. Now I do find these long handle brushes are the best thing for gloss card. The blending brushes, the bigger headed blending brushes, the ink tends to grab on the card. So I find with these ones, I can just do my circles and that ink is just going to blend beautifully. Start on the edge of the card, and if you're not sure, make sure you start circling off the card so your brush is moving when it hits the cardstock. Now I'm not going to stop and mask the actual Outback rocks. I'll show you what to do there when we get to those bits. The biggest secret with gloss card work is to be a bit patient. Excuse me while I grab a quick drink. You don't want to try and cover too much area in one go, or you'll find that your leading edge has dried and you can't soften it out. So I'm putting the colour on, and then I'm using, this is the leading edge here, so I'm working that until it disappears to almost nothing. Now because I've got the map of Australia masked, I can actually come in and work from that mask out as well. I don't have to do all my working from the outer corner in. So work those edges. Now for this bit that's close to the line of our Outback rocks, I just ink the brush. Remember, always ink the brush just the tip of the brush, then I can lay it on its side and just wiggle that in. I'm wiggling from the side, and then I'm also wiggling from the mask back because I don't want to go from the side and accidentally put the brushes in underneath that mask. Now once you've got a bit of ink on there, if you want a bit more colour, you can certainly go over the top and add more intensity to it. Let's work to our other side. Now we'll have to turn my card around for this, so sorry you'll be looking upside down. Actually I'll start from here so I can blend it. Is that ink pad in the way, Matthew? So again, you can work from the mask up or the edge down, but make sure that leading edge gets well blended before we move on. As I said, once you've got a bit of ink on the card, you can put more ink over the top, but if I'm going to a fresh bit, I start on the edge and work in again. See how well those bits of colour are all blending well together. Now again, I'm going to go inking up the end of the brush, pushing the brush down. So if you see, if I push that brush, where's the best for the camera to see it? If I push it down like that, the more pressure I put on it, the sharper edge I can get. And I'm just going backwards and forwards, not circles this time, just wiggling back and forward. And you can see we get a soft edge, which is the bristles of the blush doing the blending for you. Bristles of the blush doing the blending. Bristles of the brush doing the blending. And this edge, which you've pressed into, gives a sharp edge. So that means if I'm going to do this bit and I have my card this way around, my sharp edge is going to be up here and I'll be smudging blue all over that bit. I need to turn my card around so that I'm getting that edge of the brush up to my border of where I want the colour to be. The bit up here doesn't matter because the brush is doing that blending there for me. So push your brush down, push it into the line of where you want the colour to go. Now I'll just darken that sky off a little bit more with some dress blues. And here we change to our pouncing technique. So again, just ink the edge of the brush, turn your card around again so that again you're working at a comfortable angle for you. Pouncing. So pouncing is where we let the brush bristles bend. And again, we're using this part to help us with our blending. But this can give you more intensity of ink. So pat it on right at the edge of the card, then work it a bit as you've got less ink on the brush. So smoothing it out. If you find you get too much, you would grab your lighter blue brush and just buff it or circle it, just push it back a little bit until we've got a nice smooth blend. And you can see already, looking from one side of the card to the other, it does give a nice look to add that little bit of darkness. So along the top. Don't try and do the whole lot in one go, the same as with the other blending on the rest of the card. If you do too much, by the time you come back to blend this bit, it's dried out on you. So you've got blending time, but you don't have forever, which I think is a favourite saying of mine. Onto this corner, and notice I'm turning the card around. I work best at that angle. If I'm trying to do a card this way, I'm going to be putting ink, especially if I stay at my best angle, I'm going to be putting ink, blobbing it on the card instead of getting that bending of the brush. And if I'm trying to do it this way, it's really awkward for me. So I've found that my best angle is here. And that's something that will vary from person to person. Okay, let's grab our blue brush, lighter blue brush. Just give it a little bit of a buff. Okay, so that's our sky. That's all we're doing for the sky. You could put sunset colours in there. We could do moonlight colours, whatever you like. But I'm just focusing at the moment on mainly just building up some general background colour. Now let's get Sandcastle. Put it over that side this time. And we're going to do our rocks. And I can really, did I grab Sandcastle? Yes, I did. And I can just circle in there. Doesn't matter, I'm going to be putting some greens up to the edge of the rocks, so it doesn't matter if I go over the edge there a bit. Just getting some colour on. Let's flip our card around, ink up, and push in and wiggle. Now, if you're not confident to do this wiggling, you would make a mask, an upper and lower mask, to cover that horizon line. Let's work in from this edge. And I'm going to be a little bit more careful around the Australia. So I'm just going to get a little bit of ink on the card and then sort of pounce around it a bit. Just so I don't lose that little mask there. And again, spin my card around, ink up the end of the brush, wiggle in. It's really quite quick actually, as long as you have a little bit of patience that you do get your blending done before you move on to the next area. It's actually, it creates a card, a very effective card, quite quickly. Just going on, adding a little bit more down below there. Now we can come in. I think we will add a little bit of the terracotta in there, just for a bit of interest. But I'll have my lighter brush standing by in case I need to buff it a little bit. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit of ink, dab it around and do a bit of buffing just to get that real red sand colour happening. But I'm not really worrying about, I'm going to do some shadowing in a minute. I'm not really worrying about shadowing, I just want to get that little bit of, yeah, red tones in there. Right, so just smudging it out with the other brush. Okay, now, actually I'll keep working with the lighter brown brush. Now I'm going to pick up the Macchiato and actually add some shadows into the rocks. So Macchiato, and this time we switch to the number 2 brush, the smaller one. And have our lighter brush standing by. So again, just ink the end of the brush, and this time we're going to place the ink in behind where there might be some shadows. So place it, then pull it up a little bit. Ooh, I think we've got ghosts around. But it's Christmas, not Halloween. Why are the ghosts here?
Ghost of Christmas past?
Possibly. Visiting early. So pop a bit of shadow in. Place it, drag it up a bit, and then usually I find I need to get the bigger brush just to pat it and buff it a bit. And can you see already the difference in the rocks that side to that side by adding in that bit of shadow? It's one of those things that it is worth spending a bit of time to do because it just adds so much more dimension to your card. Cross this way a bit, we might put some in there, maybe a bit in there, just goes a little buffing. It doesn't, you've got to be a little bit patient, but it doesn't take that much time to add a really good effect. Tassie, little Tassie mask, you're moving on me and I don't want that yet. Let's just move that back into place. Here we go. Press that down there. Okay, let's work into this side now. So again, you just place the ink to start with. Only ink the end of the brush. Place it, then you can drag it and then buff it. Place it, drag it, buff it. One more bit, let's go along this bit here. And I might give those rocks, they didn't pick up much of the sandcastle, so we'll give them a bit of their own colour. So, okay, now let's switch to our greens and add a little bit of sort of dusty grass colour down the base. We could continue it with the browns, but I feel by putting in a little bit of green, it will give, even though the Outback doesn't have a lot of greenery most times of the year, this will give just a little bit of difference between the ground and the rocks. But why I've chosen to go with the spar colours is so that it is that yellow green, that sort of dry green look. So shading in with the with an olive to start with, and then edge of the brush, buff it in, wiggle it in. I'm wiggling now, not buffing. Get it right. And now because I want to, again like the sky, create that deeper look, let's just add in our eucalyptus. Pouncing on. It's just going to soften that with an olive a little bit. Okay, now we can lift our mask out and do our last bit of stamping, which will be with the midnight again. Lifting out Tassie. Hang on to those masks because you get to use them again. We'll get our stamp press this time because knowing me, I would definitely muck up the words. So I'm going to put some magnets on. We'll take that Australia map off there, give him a good clean in a moment. And I'm going to go greetings from Victoria, because that's where I'm from. Greetings from Victoria. Let's place it all there, make sure it's all fitting in. Now you could do it different ways. I might do the Victoria up on an angle because I can. Right, pick that up on a stamp press. Hopefully the card stays put. With a little bit of help it did. Okay, now I can just look on my grid lines just to make sure I've got that greetings pretty straight and it looks good. So let's ink up with Midnight. Just a little tapping. Now I don't need a hard press, but I do need to make sure I've covered the whole area. Lift up, and there's our card. Let's move all this to one side and we can have a look at the difference in the cards I've done. There's the greetings from Victoria, or there's our hi from New South Wales. Now I would then just mount those up on a black card, which is going to look much the same as the tablecloth. But yeah, just mount that up on a black border to finish the card off. How cool is that? I like that one. I always do like working on the gloss card, but it's just so nice building up the scene and adding that real Aussie greetings touch to it. Thank you for watching today. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you'll have a go at it, and we'll see you again next time.